Madlab Performance presents The Lab Podcast. Here's your host and chief mad scientist, Dan Gilbert.
Hello, and welcome everybody to The Lab. I'm here with the smartest person in the room at all times, Cayley Kruhm.
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going.
And as always, my partner in crime, Luke, get off my lawn, Hillman.
Always.
And we have a special guest today, fellow gym owner, Dan Raimondi. Dan, give us a little background about yourself, my friend.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, guys. I am, like you said, gym owner out here in beautiful Fargo, North Dakota. I have a gym called 51 Strong. It's a small strength training gym. Before that, I was a college strength coach. I spent quite a few years in a different Division I school. And that's been pretty much my trajectory, kind of college strength coach and now a gym owner.
Okay, so you went to school to become a strength coach, right? So you were in strength and conditioning?
Yeah, I eventually did get my master's in kinesiology. I actually did my undergraduate degree in English, so it wasn't my original plan going into college.
What did you want to be?
I wish I.
What did you want to be when you grew up, Dan?
It's funny. I always knew. It is actually kind of funny to think. So I actually knew I wanted to do something in the fitness world. I always kind of thought, being an English major, that I would write or do something along the lines of writing for fitness publications, that kind of thing. And I started realizing that most of the people who were writing for like your typical Muscle and Fitnesses or Men's Health magazines, they were all strength coaches who kind of freelanced as writers. They weren't primarily writers. So I kind of stumbled upon this college world when I was almost halfway through college. I kind of found the T-Nation stuff and Elite FTS, and I found those guys and stumbled upon this whole world of college training. I didn't even know it existed, to be honest. I thought kind of personal training was kind of all there was. So I stumbled upon the college world, started interning, volunteering, just spending as much more time as I could in the weight room. I've always kind of enjoyed being in the weight room, so it wasn't that wasn't a big leap. And yeah, so I kind of knew, I think for a lot of people who go this route, they spend some time in the weight room with athletes, they start training, they kind of realize that this is what they're going to do. And so I kind of knew off the bat that I needed to further my education. So I got a graduate degree. I went to the University of Minnesota. I flew to Minneapolis, Minnesota in January during a blizzard and got my master's there. And yeah, that was my postgraduate degree. But yeah, my original degree was actually in English.
That's interesting. I actually was a journalism major and an English minor, and I didn't really have I always had a passion for fitness, but I never even saw myself going into the industry. But you did have some kind of preconceived plan of being in the industry before college. So at least you were kind of going in the step in the right direction. What started your passion for fitness? Before you went to college, what made you want to write about anything related to fitness? What started that?
Good question. I think a lot of coaches like myself who, I'm not a very tall, this is going to sound maybe very superficial. I'm not a very tall guy.
I'm right there with you, Dan. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, right. I'm built for lifting, but I'm not built for much else. I think if you're like that, if you grow up kind of a small person, you tend to have that kind of complex where you just want to get bigger and bigger. And so I always liked being in the weight room. I always liked training. So part of it is probably a self-conscious thing. Part of it was just, too, I liked how you could see a direct result of the work you put in and how it was directly kind of translated into the output, right? So it was kind of that one place where I felt like I was in control, those variables that I could control were in my power to do so. So I guess the two, probably part of it was a self-conscious thing maybe, where I was kind of a short man and I wanted to be bigger. But so that was in high school. You're starting to grow and you're a young male and you want to get bigger and bigger. You see all your idols and stuff who are big, Arnold and all those guys. And so I wanted to be bigger myself. I enjoyed how it made me feel. I enjoyed the process of it. And I continued that in college. So I just kind of I think when you have passion for something, you want to share it with other people. I think that's pretty normal. And so you kind of think, well, what's my avenue to do this? And how can I share this with other people? How can I, get them stronger or train them, whatever it might be. And so yeah, from an early age, my dad was into lifting weights when he was young, so he passed it on to us, my brother and I. And so from a young age, it was kind of instilled in this nature of like, you can train, you can get stronger. So that was always pretty helpful too, is that I had people around me who were also kind of into it, that it trickled down and helped a lot.
Going in, so the mindsets of these, like of people's careers, always interests me, and obviously, especially in the fitness industry, because I think the fitness industry just, like, people come from so many different backgrounds to get into the industry and like have so many different mindsets and things that inspired them, whatever. So this stuff is very interesting to me. Kind of on topic, but off topic. When you were going into college, like when you're thinking about all these things, what was your favorite lift at that time?
Oh, okay. So that's to this day is probably the same lift.
That was going to be my other question. Is it the same?
Yeah, I actually share this with people all the time. So my dad there's actually a pretty sizable age gap between myself and my dad. It's 50 years, which I think is always an eyebrow raiser for folks. What that means, the reason why I always preface this with that is because my dad grew up in the time when the clean and press was the standard benchmark lift. When he was growing up in the 50s, in the 60s, the question wasn't what do you bench, it was what do you press, because that was sort of the mark of the true strength of a person was, can you clean press your body weight, for example. And so growing up,
right, where people would be like, I can press over 100 pounds. Like this guy can carry over 100 pounds over his head. Yeah.
So that was kind of like the gist. Like that was sort of what he was indoctrinated with, was what do you clean and press, and then that was definitely what I was kind of instilled with growing up. I had a little barbell set. I had my room's little tiny 1-inch barbell
awesome.
thing with some weights. And so that was the thing was. I remember him telling me point blank one day, just Dan, I don't care what you bench, I care what you press. And so, like, from that day, it was always, what can I press? What can I press? So to this day, I would probably say, like, a clean and press or just a standing press overhead. And just, I think part of it is just growing up like that. I always heard, what do you press? And I've always kind of been fascinated with the people who can press a lot of weight overhead. And so, yeah, probably the press.
Luke Hillman, what do you feel about this?
Oh, I absolutely love overhead pressing.
Luke loves the overhead press in like any way possible. Like if he's pressing something.
For the longest time, we called him triceps because he would only press.
Yeah, so it's funny that you say that. As soon as you started talking about the press, like Luke's eyes in here just lit up. I was like, this is hilarious.
It was great.
We started kind of chuckling. All right, so
good.
So you're in college. You start to realize strength training is a thing. You become interested in it, and then what happens?
I was lucky. I was really lucky. So I was actually studying abroad. I was in Scotland, and I was on Elite FTS's fitness on their website. And Elite FTS has, I don't know if they still do, they had a page at the time. It was sort of all the universities and the clients they worked with. And I remember seeing a picture of I went to school at the University of Richmond in Virginia, and the mascot is the spiders.
Yep.
I remember seeing a picture of a platform, and there was a spider logo on the platform. And I was, at the time, just a regular college kid, so I only had access to the general recreation center. And I remember seeing this platform and thinking, like, that's not anywhere in the rec center. Where is this gym? And I got back to campus, and the weight room for Richmond is for the athletes. It's kind of tucked away in a different kind of spot in the building. So I went searching for it, and it was definitely off the beaten trail. It's not like something you just kind of stumble upon. It's like I kind of stumbled upon this weight room. It's where the basketball players trained, and I was lucky. I was wearing an Elite FTS hat, and the head strength coach for basketball, Jason DeMeo, he saw me peeking into this weight room, and obviously I was a student, I'm not an athlete, and he's kind of like, what do you need something? Like, what are you doing? And I just kind of went out. I'm like, hey man, this is something I'm interested in. I'm really curious to see what you guys do. I would love to help out if I can and learn more, essentially, just kind of put myself out there. And very lucky because I stumbled into a great staff. Jay was an awesome mentor. The head strength coach, Chris Stewart, for football, he was awesome. I had a lot of great friends who really helped set me up to get me where I am today. So that was kind of this weird fortuitous thing where I just happened to be kind of poking in, trying to see if they had like reverse hypers and like all this other stuff that I'd been like hearing about. And yeah, and then he'd post his head out and was like, "Can I help you?" And that was, I showed up. I think he told me to come in like the next day or maybe a week. I forget when he told me to come back and meet the other coaches there. And then I just sort of jumped in. It was just head first. He's like, "Okay, you know," it was just, you jump in. I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. I thought I kind of had a better idea of it than I actually did, but I was.
That is super common.
Yeah,
I hear that.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to me. Keep going.
You know, then I knew at least that I shouldn't walk into. So I started off with, I remember it was the football team, and they had just won the FCS championship at the time. It was back in 2008, and I'm even smaller at the time. I was even smaller than I am now. I'm not a tall dude, like 5'7", and maybe at the time I'm like maybe $150, $155.
Man, 5'7" with the name of Dan. We got a lot of like here.
Well, so in walk all these big football linemen, and I'm thinking like, there's no way these guys are going to listen to me. Not a chance. So what I need to do is essentially just get a chance to know them. Like, if I can just learn their names first, I'll learn the names, and then I'll learn their personalities, and then maybe eventually they might listen to what I say if I can get a chance to know them first. That's what I did. I didn't try and coach people, really. I just tried to spot them. I loaded weights. I tried to absorb as much information as I could. I made a very big effort to memorize all their names so that I could always call them by name. And eventually, like it happens, eventually you get to the point where you're talking to them and say, "Hey, man, you might try this or that on your next set." And they're like, "Okay, cool." Because you've taken that time to get to know them first and not try and just come in. I've seen a lot of like interns would come in and they just start trying to like bark orders at people without really getting a chance to know them. And
that unfortunately is very common too.
Yeah, it's a poor approach. So that was my kind of approach. But I was lucky. I guess stumbled into a big crowd of people and coaches, and they were very welcome and receptive to me.
Dang, so you had a vicious combination of passion, curiosity, you had a process, and then some humility. That goes a long way, my friend. So then
Thank you.
What made you switch from, did you have a question, Cayley?
No. Well, I was going to say.
I don't want to keep moving on before you guys ask whatever you guys want to ask about.
So did you pick Minnesota because of Cal Dietz, or did you just kind of stumble into that?
Oh yeah, Cal was a major reason why. I had met Cal. So every year Jay puts on a seminar called the Central Virginia Sports Performance Seminar.
Yep.
And so he started doing that when I was there, and he brought in Cal one year to speak. And
wait,
I got a chance to meet
Can you hold
Cal.
on 1 second, Dan? Cayley, can you give our listeners some background on Cal Dietz, why this is so exciting? Because this is really exciting.
Yeah, he's a huge name in strength conditioning. If you've ever heard of triphasic training, he's the brain behind that. He's absolutely brilliant. He's just a brilliant man. I'm sure Dan can talk more on that, but...
Yeah, sorry, continue, Dan. I just wanted our listeners to be like, wait, who's Cal? And because we're in the Baltimore area, they're probably like, Cal Ripken? Cal Dietz, he is the strength coach at the University of Minnesota for Olympic sports. His title may have changed, but I think he's director possibly. He came and spoke at our seminar, and I remember being really impressed with him. I got a chance because, as a kind of an assistant at the time, like an intern essentially, I was helping Jay pick up people from the airport and whatnot. So I actually got a chance to drive Cal to the airport first flight and talk to him a little more. And wow.
I really liked it. I got a chance. It was fun to talk to him. And I remember that summer actually distinctly. I had a question on his triphasic stuff. I remember emailing him, and he said, "Give me a call." And that really impressed me, just because he's a busy guy, and I'm a little intern at Richmond, and to say like, okay, I'll actually spend time talking to you on the phone, it left a huge mark on me. So I really thought, when I was looking at colleges to go to for my master's, I thought Cal is definitely someone I want to learn from. It was, the other thing was too, they accepted applicants in the spring, and I was finishing the football season at Richmond, and so November was kind of rolling around, and I needed I wanted to kind of move on and kind of get my graduate stuff going, and Minnesota hired spring applicants, which was helpful. But yeah, Cal was a major player. It was actually kind of lucky. The timing of it for me worked out really well. Like Cayley said, he's the author of a book called Triphasic Training. But what was really lucky for me was that I flew to Minnesota, like I said, in January. Cal picked me up from the airport and let me stay with him for like a week while I found housing in Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like just a great guy. I truly, like, really, he's gotten me as far as anybody else has in my career. But what was funny was that I think it was maybe the day or two after I got in there, we were at the University of Minnesota. We're in the weight room, and it's kind of quiet because it's still kind of break. It was like January, so kids are on some Christmas holidays still probably. And he says, we're going to go to breakfast, and we're going to meet one of a doctoral student, one of my guys, who we're going to work on a book. And that book was Triphasic Training.
Oh my goodness!
So I was kind of there for like the process of the book being written. Ben Peterson, who's the co-author of the book, is a great friend, and I was lucky that I stumbled into that world right as the book was in sort of the planning stages, and I got very lucky to be part of that. That
is amazing.
Yeah, you have good timing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very well timed. Yeah,
I mean, it sounds like well deserved though. Sometimes I think people hesitate to reach out to people that they want to learn from or ask questions, and then sometimes those things, when you reach out like that, can end up into kind of lifelong relationships like that, and things that really leave a mark on not only your career but then also your life in general, which I think is a pretty amazing thing, for sure. Oh, so when you went from, because you obviously have your own gym, which you just talked about in the beginning. What made you? What was the process to start even thinking about that? Did you already have?
Can I backpedal that question a little bit?
Yeah.
So Dan, when we were at GW together, you were already doing starting strength. So can you talk a little bit about what got you into starting strength, and then address that question of what took you to starting your own place? Yeah,
for sure. So. I first had gotten into the starting strength stuff when Ripito. So the author of the book is Mark Ripito. So he used to do the CrossFit barbell training course way back, probably in maybe 05, 06 or something. And so I had been reading or watching the videos then because I was trying to teach myself some of these barbell lifts, and I had heard of him then. It was further ingrained upon me, sort of. The teaching model that starting strength uses when I met Jay DeMayo at Richmond, because Jay basically handed me the book, the older copy of the book, and he said the first 90 pages are just how to squat. So read this essentially, and so that kind of really had my attention towards what Coach Ripito was talking about. And I always kind of followed his stuff. He used to write for Team Nation. He always published stuff on his website. So I was always kind of following what they were doing in starting strength. And I can't remember what exactly prompted me to do it. I was at George Washington University. This was probably 2015. I remember thinking to myself, I need to learn how to coach the barbell lifts better. I thought I was good, and I've had sort of moments in my life where I just, maybe it's an imposter syndrome thing. I just really questioned myself. I remember looking up starting strength coaches in the area. And there's a few that are nearby, but they're not that close. You got to go usually about an hour in any direction. And I found his name is Bo Bryant. He runs a gym in Westminster, Maryland.
Yeah, that's right by us.
Yep. Yeah. We're 20 minutes from there.
Yeah. I found Bo, and I emailed him, and I said, I just pretty much want to watch what you do and see how you coach and see if there's anything I can pick up from you, because I'm not sure if I'm actually as good of a coach as I think I am. And I drove out there one Saturday morning. I drove out to Carroll County, and Bo opened his gym up, and it's what he's got, 6,000 square feet there. And he used to have a kind of a CrossFit affiliation. I don't know if he does anymore, but in the one kind of little room, he had some guys doing CrossFit, and then the other room was kind of the barbell area. And I remember walking in and seeing, it was a Saturday morning, and there was people of every age and sort of every ability training with barbells and getting stronger and just having a good time. And to me, it kind of all clicked. And I thought, this is where I need to be. I need to be doing something like this, because it just seemed like such a fun environment to transition to. It kind of the college world was great. I loved college strength and conditioning. From a family standpoint, the hours weren't always as conducive to having, at the time we were getting ready to kind of plan a family out. And so I kind of wanted to make a different move. And so I wanted to learn the lifts, and then I kind of seeing the way that he ran his gym, I was like, that's actually something I think would be better for me to pivot to. And that's kind of what I did. Yeah, I would just go there up on the weekends and kind of shadow the coaches up there and kind of try to improve upon it. And then 2016, I took my exam to be a starting strength coach, and I luckily passed. And that was kind of when I started we were kind of planning our move away from the Northern Virginia area. My wife is from the Midwest, so I was thinking how I can maybe open up a small facility of my own. And we were expecting our first kid at the time back in 2017. So we were kind of making plans to leave, but the main part of it was that really seeing Bo's gym was kind of the keystone moment where I was like, I think this is kind of the setup I need to push towards, private facility rather than continuing the college world.
So how long did you start it in 2017, or was it? How long have you had your gym open?
I started training people out of so we moved from Virginia to Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, which is kind of like an hour east of Fargo.
Okay.
Where my mother-in-law lives. So we moved back to live with her for a couple months while we were looking for a place to live in Fargo. I put a squat rack in her gym, in her garage, a little rack in there, built a platform, and then the thing for me that helps out is the sort of the brand, the reputation of starting strength. So I moved back to Minnesota, and there was actually people in other parts of Minnesota who wanted to travel to get coaching on the barbell lifts the way that starting strength teaches it. So I would, bring people into her garage and just coach them out of the garage on the main kind of big 4 or 5 barbell lifts, and that's kind of what we did. Right? We bought a house in Fargo in 2017. Did the same thing. I started in my garage. I built a little rack in the platform. I ended up working out a deal with one of the local gyms who let me use. So as you can imagine, Fargo in the winter is a pretty cold place, and the garages.
Sure.
So the garage gym in the winter wasn't quite as feasible. So I ended up working on a deal with a local guy. He let me kind of bring in people and use his space, and then eventually I got lucky. I found my brother-in-law's got a friend who owns a little chiropractic business, and he had like 700 square feet or so of space that I could use, and that was like perfect for me. I put 3 squat stands in there. I built a few platforms, and that became sort of like the real first like location for, at the time it was Raimondi Strength, and then we ended up kind of outgrowing that space a little bit, and we moved into now our current location, which is about 2,000 square feet, a shop type space, and we kind of rebranded to 51 Strong.
That's awesome. That's like a storybook start.
It really is.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm like leaning back on my mic. Yeah, definitely a storybook start. And what would you say is your favorite part about owning your own business?
The biggest one, honestly, there's no one. I don't have to listen to anybody, pretty much. I can do what I want, essentially, as far as the business is concerned, as far as how I train people. One of the guys who's helped me in this process, his name is Paul Horan. He runs a gym out in California, and I heard him say once, no one can walk you out to your car and say that you don't have a job anymore. So no one can fire me, essentially, which is what I wanted to be, the person making the decisions. But I wanted to be the person who, I didn't want to be working for somebody else and having them tell me what I had to do, as far as, like you were kind of saying after this podcast, you were mentioning sort of like, setting in for your booth at the front opening, and like, here's your body fat scanner. Now you got to follow the protocols of the big box scan. And it's the same kind of thing. Like I didn't want to do that to people when I did some personal training in gyms, and I wanted to train people the way I thought they should be trained. And so that's probably one of the best perks of being a gym owner is no one can tell me how to train people, or, and no one can, more importantly, no one can walk me out there and say like, you don't have a job here anymore. It's all on me, essentially.
Yeah, I completely understand that, as these guys are looking over and laughing at me. That's an amazing story, man, for sure. And I'm glad that you got to outgrow a space and go into a bigger space. Do you have, is it just you, or do you have other people working with you in that space?
No, it's just me. I just coach people myself. We have a gym set up so that there's a key fob system. It's the way we worked it out with our members. They have the option to train with me, and then if they want to use the gym on their own, they can. And it's a small little operation, but it's worked well so far.
Oh, that's awesome. How many members would you say you have about?
Not too many. We only have probably about 12 or 15 in person. Then I do my online coaching as well, which is more. And we bring people in from all over too. So we have a lot of folks who travel from around the Midwest area to get coaching in person and go on the barbell lift. So it's not a huge one, but it works out nicely.
That's awesome. No, that's really cool, and that's kind of a long way from just working out in a garage. How cold does it get in Fargo? Because I'm trying to get an idea of like somebody being in the garage and being like, I don't think it's physically.
Gilbert hates being cold.
I
too.
hate being cold. Yes.
Oh man, this past winter wasn't too bad. Two winters ago, I think we got it. There was a cold spell that came through the country, and I think we had our wind chill was down to -60.
Oh my gosh!
No.
I think
I feel like I would just shatter.
Yeah.
Most places closed down. Like you really can't. Like it's just you don't even go outside. You don't do anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you want to go lift today in the garage? No, I don't think we can go outside. We'll just die, I believe.
Yeah, it's like 15 degrees in the garage, and
Dang. So what's your vision for your business? Like, what would you like to see it accomplish? What would you like to see happen? Like, do you want to grow? Do you want to scale to other? Like, how do you want this to work out? What's the dream scenario?
yeah, I will probably we've got a lot of room to grow, so we'll continue to do that. We've actually added a few people since we've been able to reopen from the pandemic. We'll continue to grow. What I'll likely do. We've sort of expanded our offering, so we also do some open gym things now, so people have the option to just use the gym for the barbell usage. I will probably entertain the idea at some point of letting outside trainers also rent space from me, essentially. We'll probably look to expand and do more things as far as like educational things, so camps, clinics, that kind of stuff, where we can bring people in for half a day or so, maybe a couple days, and kind of go through different lifts and like kind of in isolation, or kind of all the lifts, and kind of show them what barbell training looks like. And that's kind of we'll keep growing. I don't know. At some point, I might get big enough to hire somebody. I don't know how much bigger the space can. I don't know how much bigger we'll get from a space standpoint. I imagine we'll, if we do need to move into a bigger one, I certainly will try. And then. Yeah, I think that's it's kind of the main thing. There's kind of a few little things there from a business standpoint, and then I would like to try and get some more. I like to give some stuff away as well. Like one thing I kind of want to do that I've taken from the folks over at Barbell Medicine is trying to bridge this gap between like the medical world and training. So it's kind of hard to do, but I'd love to be able to get some more folks in on like kind of like a free educational basis, doctors and other folks who might be interested in kind of training and kind of show them what we do. Maybe kind of destigmatize training to some degree. I would love to be able to kind of show. I would love for doctors though kind of see what strength training looks like as we do it, and get more people sort of pushing folks into strength training. Kind of the common advice has always been.
Man, I think that is one of the most important things that can happen right now. And not even just looking at it from the fitness industry, but from the health industry, right? Like if we could get more people looking at strength training and just improving human movement as part of like an integral part of their health, I think that we'll be much better off from an overall health standpoint as a country.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but you're right. That is
starting that conversation is hard.
Yeah,
it's very
for
hard.
Sure.
It's very tough to kind of get into that world. Very tough, but I think that's a long-term thing I would love to use the gym also for, is bring people of different healthcare professions and trying to little by little kind of show them what we do and getting them to kind of see what it might be really all about. When, like I said, there's kind of a stigma around strength training depending on the person. They might think it's kind of like the old adage of like squats are bad for your knees.
What? They're not? I thought the squat was the worst lift ever. It's bad for your knees, bad for your back.
Yeah,
Can give you brain hemorrhaging. Who knows?
Yeah,
Hey.
it's awful. Don't. Yeah, right. So that's one kind of thing too. I think I'd want to try and get the gym to do as well.
No, I think that's a great mindset to have. When somebody comes in and they want to train with you, they come in out of nowhere and like, Dan, I've heard all about you. You're super famous. Actually, Cal Dietz told me about you. What do I start with? Like, how do you start with somebody?
Most people come to me, most people actually, they come usually one of two ways. One is they've just been searching for trainers in the area. I bring them in. I give them an overview of what they can expect, what it's going to look like. I don't want to get a person into the gym who's expecting one thing.
They Google best personal trainer in the area, and Dan's smiling face pops up, pressing something above his head.
Well, I had a guy join last week, and I asked him sort of how he found me. He Googled personal trainers. He emailed like 3 of us, and I was the only person who emailed him back. So I was like, okay.
That is I don't understand that. Like, it's so common. Like, people are asking for your business, and then only one person replies, and then other people don't realize why they're not busy. And you're like, well, just don't respond.
My grand marketing strategy is just to respond to emails and answer phone calls.
Maybe we should try that.
So you respond to him. Sorry, keep going.
Oh yeah, no, that was so. I bring them in. I usually like to bring folks in to give them an overview of what they want to learn what they're looking for specifically, because I don't want to get a person that isn't the right fit for my gym. So if a person comes in looking for boot camps and CrossFit or something like they look for yoga. I think the folks who are looking for something else would probably get weeded out.
They're like, I want to do 100 power cleans in a row as fast as possible. I don't really care how it works. Maybe that's not the gym for them.
Right. I would probably kind of temper their expectations a little bit. Like, hey, this isn't what we do quite here. We're literally like 500 yards throw from the nearest CrossFit. So it's like, okay, if you want that stuff, those are your guys over there. That's not quite me. So I try to bring them in and get a sense for what their background is, what they're looking for, and then kind of give an overview of what they expect from us, from me. And if it's the right fit, what it looks like essentially is we just start kind of going over the movements. And
what movements do you have them go over?
We'll teach them the squat, deadlift, press, bench. Some young males will teach like power clean or power snatch. It starts off pretty basic like that. It's scaled as they need it to be scaled. So I got a guy who started last week, so he's learning how to squat off of a box. He's deadlifting off of blocks as well to make it a little bit easier to get into position. So it's scaled, according to their ability, and then just we kind of show them the process of how you train, so how you plan your workout, for example. Like, how do you, when you walk into the gym, how do you set your rack up? How do you know what weight you're going to go for that day?
You don't just roll dice?
Nope.
We're doing everything.
No,
doing everything. No, I'm just kidding.
It's fun to do sometimes, but yeah, for those folks, it's very much like come in and teach you how to train essentially, so that I want people to we usually spend 4 to 6 weeks kind of going over the basics, and then I kind of tell people I want them to be really confident and know what to do, know how to train, so that if they choose not to continue with us and maybe go back to like a commercial gym, I want them to feel confident that they could go into that gym and know what exactly to do, how to do it, and
you're building that like weight room literacy.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that term.
Yeah. Well,
is that a Cayley Kruhm one? Can we coin that?
Sure, go ahead. TM. No, that's one of the biggest things I remember about working with your athletes at GW. When you were out on paternity leave, I was like, dang, these kids know what they're doing. Like, I don't even need to be here. I can just kind of watch.
Yeah. It's not a good business model to make yourself as a coach obsolete, but no, I think it like I always tell my clients that.
But those are the people that people should want to train with, right?
Yeah, right. That's kind of how I see it. Is I'm sort of a navigator, and my job is to sort of just point you in the right direction. So, we'll tweak form as they need to, because they've been formed kind of gradually, make it a little bit rusty over time. So we tweak the form, we go programming stuff, and when aches and pains kind of creep up a little bit, we might go over stuff like that. But to me, the job of the coach is that kind of a navigator. It's kind of helping you get to where you want to go, but you are very much the captain of the ship. And I didn't want people to kind of think like, like it's just, there's kind of there are a lot of trainers out there who very much keep their clients in the dark because they feel that, like, if I can keep them on the hook, then that's, they've got to keep coming back to me. I wanted my
that is one of,
percent.
yeah, that is one of my least
100%.
that is one of my least favorite strategies in the industry, and that one is also very common.
Extreme.
But it doesn't usually work.
Yeah.
And it stems from, it really just stems from insecurity, I think.
Well, right.
You should want to get people around you better, and whatever the optimal way to do that is what you should be following, right? And if you feel like that's not doable as a business, then maybe you should figure out something else. Like it's mind-blowing to me.
Well, and Dan, the strategy that you use, I think, is people actually want to come back to that. They feel valued. Yeah. They feel like you care about them and you're there to help them. You're not trying to make a quick buck off of them. And I think people really value that. And because of that, they're not going to go anywhere.
I mean, I kind of want to share with Dan just from the way he talks.
You're going to Fargo. Bye.
Dan, if it wasn't so cold there, I'd be on a plane already.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, the irony of it is, too, like I said, our retention has been very good. Like, that's one thing that, most of my members have been with me for several years. And so even though the model is based on how can I, kind of get you to the point where you do this on your own, they still want to come back. Well, that's sort of what you guys talk about too, is the community piece. It's not just about sets and reps, and it's not just about the little nuances of technique. There's the communal piece there as well. It's kind of building that community up, and that relationship building is really the most critical.
Can you talk a little bit about that, like how you go about building relationships?
Well, like we said in the beginning, I just quote movies and TV shows a lot.
That helps, it seems. Work with us.
I'll never forget the first time I met you. You were like, "Hi, I'm Dan. What'd you have for dinner last night?" And it was like, "What?"
I still ask the question quite a bit. It's not because I'm judging. I think at first it throws, like a new client, it throws them through a loop when I ask them that, because they think it might be coming from a judgmental place. I'm usually doing it because I'm hungry, and
that sounds about
so
right.
it's not like I'm judging, like, oh man, they had like French fries. No, I'm usually looking for ideas for food because I'm pretty hungry at that point. So for me, I think one of the best things that helps me from a relationship standpoint is just to be curious about the other person and get a sense of their life. A lot of my clients, because we're such a small gym, a lot of my clients spend at least some time with me one-on-one, and those are great opportunities for me to learn about them as a person. I think you want to form as big of a picture about them as you can. What do they like? What do they dislike? Like I've got one guy who loves training dogs. Like he's really into dog training. So when he's in there with me by ourselves, in between sets, we're talking about like dog training and that kind of stuff. And then other guys who are like into music, and you're kind of like learning about them as a person, learn about their families and things that they really care about. And you're trying to be curious about. There's a drill I did once where the goal was to basically just sit there quietly, listen to a person and just talk for a full 5 minutes. And it's really tough to do. It's actually quite hard not to actually say something, but you're using your face to kind of like reinforce that you're listening and whatnot.
My whole staff does that to me every day.
I'm really good at it.
It's a valuable skill though, because most people when they're with me, they really want. It's nice to be listened to, and so like, or to feel like someone's actually like really listening to you when you're talking. Like, and so when you ask a person a question, you genuinely listen to what they're saying. Especially nowadays with obviously like social media and the amount of time we spend on our phone. I think as the technology piece grows, people want more and more of that human connection. And so if you can just sit there and be really curious about a person's life and really listen to what they say without trying to, like just get your own voice over the top of theirs, it really makes a big difference. And then when you can follow up with those things and you can ask them sort of about things that were going on that maybe they were doing that past weekend, or, if the dinner question asks, maybe the person's super into food. Now, like, you got a talking point about, what do you have for dinner tonight? And then maybe that spawns into the diet piece. Maybe the person came to you and they weren't looking to lose any weight, but maybe that kind of morphs into, I did have some like maybe I ate like half a pizza last night. I probably, what do you think? What do you think? And it kind of morphs maybe into this different conversation. So that curiosity piece for me has always helped a lot, just to listen to people and be genuinely curious about what they got going on in their life and what they care about.
That is some wisdom right there. When are you writing a book?
It's spring 2020. No. Gosh, who knows?
Wait, are you gonna go back to that writing stuff? Because I feel like
you still write, don't you?
I used to do some short blog stuff on my website. I kind of fell off the horse a little bit. We had a second daughter back in February, so my productivity on some things for the website has gone down a little bit. I was doing
that will do that.
Yeah, that'll do that. I was doing some editing for a while. There was a few books that I helped Cal and Ben do some editing on Triphasic, and there were some other books that I was kind of a part of. I like writing. I like the blog format. For me, it was nice. It was quick and easy. Yeah, I do like to do a little bit of blogging on there, but it's been a little while since I got on.
Is that something that you're going to get more into later on, you think?
/
or is it?
Do you want to write for our blog?
Yeah, my plan is to get back into. One person I like a lot is, maybe you guys know who he is. His name is Seth Godin. He's a marketing guy.
Say that
I like
name
his
again.
blog. Seth Godin,
Okay.
Godin. He has a blog called, I think, Seth's Blog, and they're very short. He does it every day, and I tried to model mine a little bit off his, where they were kind of these short little nuggets that you could pretty much read in like 60 seconds. And for me, it was nice because it was kind of informal. I didn't feel like I had to sit there like editing and revising and like formatting stuff. And it wasn't great from an SEO standpoint because the word counts were short and there wasn't a ton of pictures and this kind of stuff. But it was nice for me because it just kept me writing and it kept me thinking about something that might need to be said. And I do think I'll return to it for sure. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. This conversation has been great, Dan. Like I said, I want to go up and train with you now, except for Fargo's way too cold for Dan Gilbert over here, for sure. Do you guys have any other questions for Dan?
If you were going to give a piece of advice to anyone starting their own gym, what would be the biggest, most important thing you would pass along?
Ooh,
No pressure.
Yeah. No pressure. That's a good one. If you're someone, okay, that's a really good question. I would start small. That's probably the best advice I would maybe give. First I would start. So first, most importantly, do something. Start. And I would start small. The reason a lot of folks that are looking to get into it are usually folks who maybe have other gyms or other jobs, and they want to kind of get into the training world. So if that's the person, if you're kind of coming from a world like, hey, maybe like you're an accountant who trains and you're tired of accounting, start really small. Like build a little home gym. Bring your friends and family over. So whoever will let you train them, start training them. So get your experience of working with people, with actually coaching people how to move, with working with people and seeing like what taking the process of where they're at and how you can get them stronger. So the easy way to do that for most people is going to be in a small environment. Usually, if you have a garage gym. If you don't have that ability, if you don't have a garage and you can't set up a gym, then do something like I did. Go find a coach who is willing to let you kind of shadow and learn how to coach people. I say start small because for me, I'm a little bit risk averse, and I didn't want to come out of the gates with like a huge gym. So I wanted to begin small. I wanted to kind of be in a situation where I kind of had to outgrow my space. And for those folks who are kind of doing it as a side game, you might get to the point where you get enough people that you can actually take the full leap and then maybe find a space to leave. And again, like for me, it was always just start little. Kind of for me, it was starting small, which worked out well. I mean, it's not the only way to do it for sure, but for me, it kept the risk pretty manageable, and that worked well.
I think that's a great piece of advice for sure. I think that a lot of people, when they start businesses, overextend. And then you also have, on the other side of things, a lot of people that have tons of business ideas but then never execute. So they never start,
right,
like you were saying. So I think that's tremendously important. Dan, can you give us a little bit of a shameless plug, like exactly where you're at, or where they can find you online, how to follow you on whatever, just so that we can get you some more business, my friend.
Hey, sure, yeah. So the gym is 51 Strong. If you could find us on Facebook, the Instagram is 51.strong. If I start writing on a blog, it's 51strong.com. It's all spelled out, letters, not numbers. What else? Twitter is. I'm probably most active on Facebook. I'm not as active as I should be on social media, but again,
I understand.
Things. I'll be working on things. Yeah, so
You're a little busy.
I'm a little bit. Yeah, it's been quite the whirlwind the past 4 or months with all the COVID stuff, and then having a kid and moving to a new gym. So I'm getting better, and yeah, they can follow me there. They can find me on the website. They can find me on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on Twitter. It's 51 Strong. That should all lead you right to my page.
What's the best way to contact you?
Best way to get me is honestly, if you're, I don't have a problem giving my business email out. It's Dan@51strong.com. That's 51 Strong is all spelled out. Easy way to get in touch with me, just email me there, and I'm very responsive on to my emails.
That's your big marketing thing, responding to emails.
Dan.
That's all. Yeah, exactly.
I'm right there with you, my friend. Again, thank you so much for coming on to our podcast. We'll definitely be in touch after this as well.
Dan has a million questions to ask you.
Dude, I could probably talk. When somebody starts a business, I could talk to them like literally all day, for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, guys. Thank you.
No problem at all. Luke, run us down a little bit.
Take us away.
Same way.
I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Please check us out on madlabperformance.com. Also, like and share our material on Twitter and Instagram.
And once again, thank you, everyone. This has been another episode of The Lab.